What's good, Nomads? Here for another Bitcast. I'm here with Steve.
We
Stevie
back.
P. What's good, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing? Oh, man.
This guy goes to Florida and now he's wearing sunglasses all the time.
Look, you go to Florida, you realize you need to wear sunglasses.
Yeah, I can barely take the sun here in Delaware.
So it just smacks you in the face. You're driving and it comes to that glass and you're just like, I can't breathe. Yeah, it hits your eyes and you can't breathe. That's how bad it is.
You can have it. You can keep it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring you on today to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart.
Nothing is near and dear to your heart.
True, but I know it's near and dear to you too, and it's martial arts film.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, man, what's going on with America? It's 2021. We still can't make a good martial arts film. Oh, well, there is a decent one that just came out.
Which I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, Shang-Chi. That's decent. And of course, I'm not talking about all martial arts, American martial arts films. Of course, there's some good ones, like John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the Bourne Identity, the first one, was very decent with the action.
I agree. I even think some of the Bonds have some good action scenes.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man.
The Bonds have.
Even though Quantum of Solace
Was awful?
was awful because it was during the writer's strike.
Yes.
It suffered just like all the other movies, but it had some good action. It had to because there was no real good script. So.
Oh, it's amazing. You don't have any writers, so what do? You increase the production of everything else.
We need more explosions. We need more blood and guns.
It's just amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing. Because as
yeah.
bad as that movie was, they had great action scenes.
Yeah, it did, and that's why I watch it.
Yeah.
Kind of fast forward to the good stuff. I just saw the new Bond. That was pretty decent. Did you see it?
Nope.
It was pretty decent, man. It was pretty
I'm going
good.
to, of course. I watch. This is the first Bond, I think, since
Because you're a Bond fan. I'm not necessarily a Bond fan. You're a Bond guy.
yeah, they used to play. I can't remember what channel it was on, but they used to play all the Bonds on a marathon during the summer, and I'd watch for like 2 days all the Bonds every summer. I do that, and of course, me and my grandfather would go to all the new Bond movies when they came out. That was kind of like the thing.
Right.
But
I didn't start watching Bond until Daniel Craig. Yeah. So.
He was a good Bond. They also changed the Daniel Craig kind of changed the feel of Bond a little bit.
Yeah, well, I know with Daniel Craig, one thing I do know about the Daniel Craig Bond movies is that they were looking for a change. MGM was in hot water at the time, leaking money, and there was talks of selling the Bond franchise. Then they decided to go to ground zero and really do it from the ground up. And at the time, Bond was doing, the Bourne movies were popular, so they were like, let's do an approach like that that's more grounded. You know, you went from like Bond with a invisible car and jetpack to Bond just playing poker, in Casino Royale. So it really
Bringing back Spectre.
it really revitalized the series with the Daniel Craig Bond and going back to the drawing board, kind of like a soft reboot. Because Casino Royale is supposed to be his like first 00 mission. So it kind of really like
and they brought back his original bad guys. Spectre was the original bad guys.
Yeah. I read about that. How was it Bloomfield? Yeah. I should know that because I just watched the movie. But yeah, Bloomfield. They call back to the whole Spectre arc and everything like that, which makes sense. I kind of feel like do you think they should do that like every time there's a new Bond just to kind of reboot it, depending on how long the actor was playing Bond?
No, so the problem is, obviously they're based off of books.
Yeah.
It's Ian Fleming's writing, and then it got taken over. I can't remember the guy's name, but he wrote the other part of the Bond series.
Oh,
I can't remember his name
it's
though.
Neil something. Anyway,
and so GoldenEye, Pierce Brosnan's first Bond movie, which is my favorite Bond movie. That was the last book that they had to base the movie series on. So then after that, that's why the rest of... See, Pierce Brosnan is my favorite Bond. He's also got some of the worst movies.
Yeah,
I don't even think so. I think he's got all of the worst movies
my
except
first
for Quantum of
Bond
Solace.
movie was actually the one that was Pierce Brosnan, and it's on record being the worst Bond movie is when he was with Halle Berry and they were in the ice castle and the Invisible Car. And
Yeah.
that's the first Bond movie I ever
Yeah,
saw,
The
and I was
World Is
like,
Not
"Oh,
Enough.
it's not for me."
Yeah.
Well, that movie wasn't enough, you know.
Yeah,
So.
no, it wasn't. It was awful. Christmas Jones was one of the leads.
Yeah. I
Was
think
he in
so.
the same one, or am I mixing up two?
I think so.
What do you have? Because he had Goldeneye, then Tomorrow Never Dies, and then
Diamond something. Am I thinking of that right?
Diamonds Are Forever is a Bond movie. I don't think it's his though.
See, I was just talking to you earlier about how I hate when people on podcasts with laptops get facts wrong. Just Google it, so I'm just going to Google it
Just
right
Google
now.
it. Just Google it. I think he's only got 4,
Right.
so I'm missing one. Goldeneye, Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough, Die Another Day.
Die Another Day.
Die Another
That's
Day.
it.
Die
That's
Another
it.
Day had Christmas Jones in it.
Where he had
Or am I mixing those two?
he was with Halle Berry.
Okay.
And they were in the ice castle.
Yeah, so Die Another Day was Halle Berry. The World Is Not Enough was Christmas Jones. I think it was Christmas Jones. He had a really terrible line at the end of the
Yeah, it was
movie.
Die Another Day.
Where he was like...
Where he was Paris skiing in the glaciers or whatever. No,
Yeah.
I didn't have Christmas Jones.
No, Christmas was in The World Is Not Enough. And
Rick Yoon and Toby Stevens, that's who were in the movie too. Yeah, I remember that.
He just had this really, at the end of the movie, he had this awful line where, a traditional Bond movie makes love to the girl at the end too. And he goes, "I've never had Christmas in Turkey," because they're in Turkey. It's just like, who wrote that line? Who thought that was okay?
Bruh.
It's a shame too, because Pierce really is my favorite Bond, and he only has one good Bond movie. So as far as like the rebooting goes, there's so much Bond that you could redo. I mean, I think it would be really cool for them to go and just reboot the entire Bond series with all of our modern equipment. Like the
Didn't they do
gadgets
that
would be awesome.
with Daniel Craig?
Yeah, kind of. But
But you're saying like
kind of go back and redo all the books.
Okay, yeah. That would actually make the most sense.
Yeah,
Because you have the
point,
blueprint
right?
with the technology now.
I think at this point it would be a really cool thing to do. Just like I think in like 10 or 20 years they should redo Harry Potter.
Yes.
It will have much better technology. It'll
I
be
mean,
long enough to where...
They did that with Spider-Man. They only did that every few years that they reprinted.
Yeah, they rebrand these characters, these comic book
Batman,
characters.
Spider-Man, Superman. Just like...
It's funny because it's like you can get away with that with comics. It feels like I'm just gonna do a whole new.
Nah, man. The audience definitely got fatigued. But for
I got
whatever
fatigued.
reason, for whatever reason, DC just doesn't listen when it comes to Batman and Superman. There's another Batman animated series coming out. You probably don't know it.
I don't.
But there's been 1,000 Batman animated series, and then you don't realize it until you go onto HBO Max and type in Batman.
And the whole library comes up.
You look at the years that they came apart. You're like, yo, they're making another one now? How many animated series do we need, bruh? How much Batman do we need? Like, come on, seriously.
Now that is a good question. And that's the question for all entertainment: is at what point do you stop?
Now. For DC, now.
Yeah.
There's like 3 different Flashes. There's a bunch of Harley Quinns, and I'm counting everything. I'm counting the animated series, the live action series, the CW series, the movies. I'm counting everything. There's like so many versions of these one characters.
I know we talk about this a lot, like comic versus anime, because I'm not really a comic book person or a superhero person. I like them, but I'm not like into them like you guys are. But I'm very into the anime and manga
You guys,
world.
you mean black people? I mean.
Yeah. No, you, Duran, Cardell.
Yeah.
So yeah, the black people in my life.
Yeah, we're all into comics, and then
Kyle's pretty into comics too. Keith
Yeah.
Keith is super into comics.
Yeah, Keith like
knows
the
his he's
encyclopedia.
comic
Yeah.
encyclopedia guy. I just I never really got into the comics, but manga, for whatever reason, before I was even a lover of Japanese things, manga's what caught my attention.
Well, with the Japanese anime and manga, I feel like there's, and correct me if I'm wrong, I just don't feel like there's as many limitations as there is in American storytelling.
That's probably part of it. I also think that
Plus, their format is way better.
yeah, I like the format. I like the drawing style better.
I do like the black and white.
Yeah.
You only need like a colored cover and just do the black. That way you can produce it faster because color costs so much.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the comic book industry struggles with the pricing and everything, because with the black and white, you can put it out faster, cheaper, and that's why there's these manga that just keep going on for like 200 books or whatever. And I do like that. You can actually grow with a character.
Yeah.
Whereas,
One Piece.
whereas right now, speaking of Batman, there's like 3 or 4 different Batman comic book issues going on right now.
And here there's another thing. When there was one point, it was before I went to Japan. So it was like 2013, 2014. That was I hope you put that on there. That's an edit in there. There was one point where I seriously started thinking about getting into comics because all of you guys were. And, when you and Keith and Duran would have these conversations.
You probably got confused.
I did. Well, I was like, I was thinking about it. I'd gone to Second and Charles, and I was like, where do I start? And I was just like,
there's no way.
And you know me, I'm like, I'm the kind of person who's like, just pick up a book and start somewhere. But I was looking at everything.
That's
I was
what
like,
you have to do.
I don't even know what I want to do. And I was like, all right, I'm going over to the manga section.
Honestly, when people ask me now, I'm like, if you want to start in comics, don't even go to the big name guys. Don't go to DC. Don't go to Marvel. Go to like the off kilter stuff, and they have great stories where they actually do have like character growth. They don't have a bunch of writers just like let me give you my version of Batman. Let me give you my version. No, it's just like stories after stories. It's not necessarily superheroes. It's just stories.
And then I know this has a market for it, but one of the things you said about growing with the characters, anime is so great at that. Like one of my problems with comic books and comic books TV series adaptations, animated series, is that you don't have, generally speaking, a consistent one storyline.
No.
Like when you point out, there's a lot of different Batmans. There's a lot of different things going on in the Batman world, just kind of in that universe.
Yeah, I'm honestly tired of Batman.
And in anime and manga, it's like, man, you got this story, you got these characters, and that's it. There is no spin-off series.
Well, sometimes there is.
Overwhelmingly, there's no spin-off series, and if there is,
it's usually a character, and it's like a different style.
Yeah, and it's almost, I'm sure there's an exception somewhere, but it's almost always based off of the prior story.
Yeah.
Whether it's a spin-off that takes place before the story or after story, the whole story is connected. It's not like, okay, we're going to pretend the story never even happened and we're going to just reboot this thing and do a whole new story. Like, that doesn't happen in anime and manga.
Well, yeah, like we had this debate on a group chat before, and I was like, yo, I really wish American comic storytelling would take the form of Eastern manga storytelling, and I feel like that would revitalize the industry, an industry that's continually struggling all the time and almost dying all the time. I feel like if they took the template of the manga, they would survive. They would last on. And honestly, we don't need 4 different comic book issues of runs with different writers of one character. Like, come on. Like, there's like 70 plus years of these characters. Like, we can do different stories. We don't need 10 different writers doing 4 different books.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, man. It's ridiculous. But getting back on topic about action.
The action in manga
I will
say
the new Batman that's coming out looks promising in March. And I text Ron. I was like, yo, I feel like we're finally going to have a good Batman movie with great action. Because Christopher Nolan's Batman has great storytelling, but the fighting.
It's your favorite.
The fighting is laughable. Like, it's bad. I remember. Which one was it? It was The Dark Knight, the second one. He was fighting the cops in the warehouse, and he was fighting like so slow. I'm like, I would have saw that punch coming a mile away. He was like, don't, grab the cop's head. Hammer fist. I was like, what?
I'm gonna get you.
What? I'm like, I understand he's in a costume, people have an issue seeing in costumes, you know. But I'm like, look at the Mandalorian, the show. You probably never seen it, but
It is on my watch list. I just
the
haven't watched it.
helmet, you've seen the helmet.
Yeah.
The visor's like this. The action scenes are on point.
If they can do it,
They're fighting hand to
you
hand.
can do it, Batman.
Like, come on, bro. Like, what is it with the Western culture and our films are just not up to par? And then we do have films that put out great action scenes sometimes, but they don't get enough attention.
Mm-hmm.
Where John Wick is actually like the outlier. Like, it was great action, and then everybody got on the bandwagon.
Now, I'll tell you, John Wick is as popular as it is because everybody loves Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know. I love Keanu Reeves.
Because years before John Wick, no one gave a crap about Keanu Reeves. Now they're saying he could play any character. Namor, Superman, Wolverine. I'm like, all right, slow down. The guy's almost 60. All right, slow down, man. I probably weigh more than him. Slow down. He can't play Wolverine. He can't be Namor. Namor's more ripped than Wolverine. You probably don't know who I'm talking about.
No, I don't know Namor.
People out there know who Namor the Submariner is, and I'm like, Namor is way more jacked than Wolverine. He cannot play him. But I'm like, all this Keanu love. I'm like, y'all just discovered this guy?
Right.
We've always known he's awesome, man. Like, and then Man in Tai Chi, which came out, I think, before John Wick. 2011.
If it wasn't before, it was right around the same time.
Sure. He directed that and he starred in that.
And nobody's heard of it.
Yo, that movie is, the fighting is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, Man Tai Chi is incredible.
And Man Tai Chi and then John Wick, it's just Keanu meeting everybody on set of the Matrix trilogy and then connecting with those stunt guys and those stunt directors and just kept working with them.
Because those guys were awesome.
Yeah, Chad Stileski, David Leitch, all them guys, man. You know,
and they're all fighters. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they came up in the industry as stunt guys, and they became directors. Just like Sam Hargrave, he was a stunt guy. Then he started doing the second unit directing for Marvel movies, and now that movie Extraction on Netflix. What the action in that is crazy, man. Crazy. Don't get enough attention though, man. We get all these movies. Yo,
yeah, what if you got Keanu in there?
Now, yeah.
Look, I love Keanu since The Replacements, even before then.
Speaking of Keanu and comic books, his comic book is pretty good. The Berserker.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, man.
The anime?
Check it out. You should check it out. That's this guy.
Berserk.
That's an example of a story that if somebody was like, "How do I get started in comic books? Do I read Spider?" No. Stay away from Marvel. Stay away from DC. Check out Berserker. Check that. You know, that's
a good idea. Or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes. Although I don't know.
So I did have Ninja Turtle comic books back in the day.
Yeah, when they were independent.
Yeah.
Not anymore,
Yeah.
I don't think. Because now he's fighting with Scooby-Doo and Batman, so I'm like...
Really?
Yeah, they had a Batman crossover.
Oh my God.
You didn't know that?
No, I had no
They
idea.
had a Batman crossover. They had a Scooby-Doo crossover.
Oh my God. Just doing the most, man. People trying too hard.
They fought with the Power Rangers at some point when Power Rangers was hot. Remember that?
Yes, I remember the Power Ranger crossover.
Yeah.
I didn't know he did one with Batman. I didn't know definitely didn't know there was a Scooby Doo one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
they do it all.
Look, I'll tell you like I said it at lunch. I'm gonna say it the same way I said it at lunch.
Work.
Who is in these ears of these directors, telling them that what they're doing is a good idea? Like this shaky cam stuff, like these Avenger movies, just drive me nuts.
Bro, you think that's bad? I saw Snake Eyes in theaters. Don't see it.
Well, I did.
You'll get what's motion sickness.
I was gonna go see it.
The shaking doesn't stop even after the action.
I had plans to go see it the day after you were going.
Oh yeah.
Remember, I texted you. I said I'm going tomorrow, or I said I'm going on Monday or Tuesday. You're like, oh, I'm going today, and I was like, oh, okay, well, let me know. And you said, you can go see it if you want, but it was trash. It was horrible. And I was like, I ain't wasting my money on this.
Honestly, that movie, I love ninjas and martial arts. And you remember I sent a text last year, and I had a whole list of movies that was coming out in 2021. I was like, yo, I'm so excited, but Snake Eyes is going to be the best one. Turned out to be the worst one in 2021, bro. That movie was so bad. I'm like, this script got greenlit? And then someone looked at the dailies in the editing room and said, this is it, bro.
This is it.
This is going to change the industry. Like, come on.
Like, look, if you're competent at your job and you're doing what most leaders are supposed to do, which is you're the leader, which means you've kind of got the ideas of what's going on, and you're going to push it forward in the direction it's supposed to go. But you're taking opinions, you're taking criticism, you're looking at things, you're paying attention, right? If you're a leader not paying attention, you're not a good leader. You have to see that, at least from my perspective, from the people I talk to and what I see online, people don't like these shaky cam things. I don't know. It's like in the industry, you would know this way better than I. In the industry, or the people that love the industry, is there a consensus that American action is good?
No.
Because if there's not, I don't understand why. Who's in director's ear saying this is the good way to go?
Well, we got to be careful what we say. American action is good. American martial arts action is not good.
I should say choreographed fights.
Because there are great martial arts choreography and mainstream right now that are not being seen because the editing and directing is messing it up. There's people in the industry working now. Like there's world class, and I can't remember his name. There's a guy who I can't remember his name, worked on Iron Fist the first season. He's done great stuff. He worked on Iron Fist the first season, and that first season was so bad. There was like 10 cuts in 3 seconds. Like, come on, man.
And it wasn't even just bad. I mean, that was all around bad.
The writing was bad.
We were at Mike's house, and we binged that series while we were there. Hey,
I'm
Kat.
so sorry for you. I'm so sorry for your eyes.
I think it was my idea, and like at one point it was just like, all right, we're halfway through. I just want to finish it now and get it over with.
It was so bad, bro.
It was kind of like comic relief, but also like a complete waste of time.
Y'all should have binge watched Daredevil, man. The action and the fighting in that is crazy.
Yeah.
Son.
Did I ever tell you Daredevil was the first comic I ever had?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a Daredevil comic.
That's my guy.
I paid 50 cents for it when I was like 10, and it was at a yard sale in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
I think I still have it somewhere.
Daredevil is my guy. That's my my Marvel superhero, Daredevil. Clown me if you want, Duran, but can't nobody touch him.
Oh, get down.
Stop
beating the tree.
But yeah, like I don't know what's going on. Like you know me, my tradition for my birthday is to watch martial arts films, and I rarely watch American martial arts films when I watch them. Like I watch a lot of Eastern stuff.
The East does it
because
better.
they have the best. And yes, I watch it with subs, but I'm not a sub guy. You know, I watch things in sub and dub. You know, I'm not repping for anybody, but I do watch
Dubs
them in
suck. Nothing is worse than watching an old Jackie Chan dub movie without Jackie Chan's voice.
Yeah, that's my problem. Yeah.
Nothing is worse. Nothing is worse.
That's very true. I'm like, you're not Jackie.
And that one sucks too because we know Jackie speaks English, and he probably could just redub those movies at some point.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, that's not what you sound like. Why do you sound like a mob boss?
Yeah, pretty much. But
Jackie, he's okay.
I'm just like, yo, man, these and that's the thing too. Like sometimes these Eastern choreographers and these, because they're more like teams in the East.
Yeah.
You know, they're more like film teams, and they'll come to the West and do stuff, and then their work will just get obliterated, man.
You know what the other part of it is too, and we talked about this before, and how interesting it is. The way they do fight is different. Like, just show up on set and just figure it out.
But not just that, they give them the time.
Yes.
And they know, over in the East, the action, the fighting is very, very important. Whereas here in the West, you'll hear it all the time if you watch behind the scenes. They'll be like, oh, they gave us a day for that fight scene. What? They give you only a day? Over in the East, they'll give you like a week or two.
Yeah. Like you said, it's culturally, hand fighting is very much, I guess it's more of an Eastern thing than a Western thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we do some...
Over here, it's more like boxing.
Like I say, we do good boxing movies. Like the Rocky movies they hold up pretty well even now for good fighting.
Yeah, but I should probably do a separate podcast on that. I feel like boxing movies have just been filmed the same way for the longest time.
Oh, I agree. Not much has changed.
You know? Yeah, not much has changed. But yeah, like over in the East, they understand that when it comes to martial arts, and filming martial arts it's like physical dialogue, where it's supposed to tell a story. It's not just supposed to be flashy and cool. And they understand that over in the East. It's telling them a story. It's like tit for tat. There's a rhythm to it, especially when you watch the old Jackie Chan stuff directed by Sumo Han. Am I saying it right?
I think so.
Simu or not Simu. But yeah, I had a brain fart. But
I know you're talking about, but I can't
you
remember
know
his
who I'm
name.
talking about. Yeah,
he did all of his stuff.
All the fight guys know who I'm talking about too. But yeah, he's like a big guy, but he moves so gracefully when he fights on screen. He's not just a director. But yeah, like they have like a rhythm to it, like da 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 da. Like
I mean, it's no coincidence. Like the last, and I don't know if I should say it this way, but maybe the last mainstream, brilliant martial art choreographer over here was Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously outside of Jackie, Jet Li's got some great stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Bruce Lee's just approach to everything on film when it came to fighting was almost like a lunatic. Everything was perfect.
Well, he had to be.
Right.
Because at the time, we think it's bad now for martial arts. Back then, it was horrible, especially with all the racism he was going through. For Enter the Dragon,
they didn't want kung fu going out anywhere. They did not want martial arts over here in America.
And it wasn't just like when I say racism, it wasn't just white people. It was also Chinese people. Because Bruce Lee was mixed. He was white and Chinese, and his Chinese brethren didn't want him teaching martial arts to the whites and the blacks and everybody else. And then the white people were just like, "Oh, you're just a yellow man. You're not." That kung fu stuff is nothing. Da, da, da. So there's weeks on Enter the Dragon where he didn't even show up to set because they wouldn't do what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just wanted a chop-socky film, but he fought for the philosophy. He fought for the time to choreograph good fight scenes. And hey, we're all the better for it, man.
Yeah, I mean, those are what at this point, 50 years old?
70, I think.
70 years old?
I think.
He's what, 60s and 70s?
Or maybe he would have been 70 now.
Oh, I didn't mean him, but like those films. Those films are like, what, 50 years
old
at this
like
point?
50 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 50 years old at this point. And
if you watch his films now, they still hold up.
Yeah, they hold up. I YouTube his fight scenes all the time.
I watch
I just watch the fight scenes.
I watch them like all the time. I watch them on my birthday for all the action films that I watch. Like his fight scenes are awesome.
Yeah.
Man. Still to this day.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's going back to that my previous point, like who is in their ears telling them that like this shit cam is still okay? It's so frustrating because like there is good talent.
It's films by assembly because they just want to. We need an action film. Put something out. Like, oh, here's the script. Oh, that looks good enough. Because
is that really how it works?
I feel like it is because people don't take it seriously, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way these execs are reading these scripts. They're just like, hey, we just need some kind of film which like ninjas and swords and fighting.
Throw a dragon in there.
People love that stuff, like, throw a dragon in.
Throw a dragon in
they'll
there.
literally do stuff like that. They'll be like, yo, throw a dragon in there, or throw a puppy in there that can chop socky somebody or something, man.
Let's talk about Mortal Kombat.
I was gonna bring it up too because that film broke my heart. It was supposed to be the It film, and then Will, the guy that we do videos with, he came to me and was like,
Will.
yo, I thought the fight scenes were pretty good. I said, Will, you have not seen fight scenes then, my friend.
Then you said the fight scenes, and he changed his mind.
Yes. Then I sat him down one day. I had a whole book of DVDs, and I showed him a bunch of fight scenes, even stuff on Netflix, because if you look, you'll find Netflix, Hulu. I showed him a bunch of stuff. I didn't show him the whole films. I just showed him the fight scenes, and he was like, okay, changed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yo, those fight scenes were bad, bro.
I was so upset. Mortal Kombat upset me so much.
The script was trash.
It was awful.
But we're
None
talking
of it
about
made
fight
any
scenes.
sense.
We're talking about fight scenes. So, but yeah, it was just a bad movie.
And
Like,
even in Mortal Kombat, like it's a movie about fighting. How can you have your fight scenes so bad in a fight movie?
my favorite Mortal Kombat film is still the original 1990,
92,
92.
I think,
The
or
original
94.
with Robin Chu as Liu
Oh,
Kang.
Robin Chu.
Liu
That's
Kang.
my Liu Kang right there.
Yeah. Tony Jaa was actually a stunt double.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was a stunt double of Liu Kang.
that's amazing. I had no idea.
Crazy, man.
That is cool.
Yeah, and Daniel Bernhardt was Super Zero's stunt guy for the second film, actually.
Mm.
Or for the first one, and then in the second film, he was the actual actor.
Yeah. Well, at some
Yeah.
point we'll have to have a conversation, maybe a podcast about
The whole Mortal Kombat, Joe.
how awful it is from a story perspective. I mean,
Yeah,
we can talk
man.
about just the fight scenes now, but everything about that
Yeah,
was
we'll just
awful.
talk about the fight scenes. They were, you
And
could
as-
tell the.
And I'm a Mortal Kombat purist. I played every single game up until 10, except
Yeah.
for like some of the more obscure. Like I never played the Sub-Zero one.
You talking about like the spin-off? Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
know what
I think some of that is still part of the story, but
loosely.
loosely. Yeah, but 1 through 10. I played 1 through 10.
Yeah.
I never played 11 and 12. At some point I'm
Same.
going to. So I don't know.
I was never
don't know what the
allowed to
story
have
goes
those
after
games,
that.
but I always went over to my friends' houses and played those games all the time.
Yeah. Bro, how can you have Mortal Kombat without having Mortal Kombat? They didn't even have Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
They didn't have the tournament.
They didn't have the
Oh
tournament.
my gosh, I was so mad. You know what? And halfway through the movie, I was thinking to myself, "Oh, this could wind up being okay because they're going to set up for the next movie, which will be Mortal Kombat, and they're not actually going to fight and kill anybody in this movie because they can't." And
They did fight and
I
kill
just-
people.
oh my gosh, dude, I was like, "What are we doing?"
They're just throwing characters in there just to have them.
Oh,
If anybody, they should have learned from the X-Men movie franchise that you just can't throw characters into a movie just because you can. It has to make sense story-wise.
the most random.
you just can't do that, or it messes up timelines, it messes up storylines, and that's what they did. Like the timeline itself in Mortal Kombat.
They put the wrong Kung Lao in there.
Yeah, they did. They did. Because
That's an easy one. How do you mess that one up?
they messed up Kunlun. They messed up the timeline between Scorpion and
Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero. They messed that timeline up, and then
They kind of messed
Sub-Zero's-
that. Well, they messed that story up.
They
too.
messed that whole story up.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. Nothing made sense in the movie. It really didn't.
But the fight scenes were just. It's just again like
My biggest issue.
there was some cool fight. There was some cool stuff in the
last
Scorpion
one.
Sub-Zero in the Scorpion
Yeah, the
Sub-Zero
last fight. Yeah.
that was
decent.
yeah.
That was decent.
But everything else was just. I mean, I was in the theater like this. I was so upset. I saw
I
upset.
know,
Nigel.
man. I know. I should have known it was going to be bad with all the hype that they had. I should have known.
And look, and I'm okay with like you even bringing in a new character. I don't think I don't know about all these new mechanics they were trying to pull off, but you know.
Apparently, that was a studio demand. They
Yeah.
said you had to create a character for the movie, and I think that they did that for merchandise. And then the movie came out, and it was like, it's kind of bad, so we'll just slip
No
that
more.
under the rug. We'll say Cole died in the next movie off screen,
Yeah.
or something like that, because it didn't make sense, man. It was just
I just need somebody to reboot it again. Just we'll pretend this one never happened.
nah. I'm sick of reboots that happened like a couple years after a movie came out. I'm looking at you, Spider-Man and Batman.
Yeah, but with Spider-Man and Batman, for a lot of their flaws, they still wind up being like, okay movies at least.
Yeah.
You know, they don't.
The Amazing Spider-Man franchise, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man franchise was just bad.
Yeah.
It was just bad. Now look, disclaimer, full disclaimer. You know, no one sets out to make a bad movie. We're not trying to bash anybody, but
I'm not so sure about that.
we're just trying to hold people accountable, man. Like, if you're gonna make something, make something. Just don't put something out so you can get a dollar figure, and then you're the only one to blame. Studios, I'm looking at you. You're the only one to blame when you put millions of dollars into something and it doesn't hit the box office the way you wanted it to, and you're like, why didn't this do that? We can't make movies like this anymore. Well,
Look, I'm a big believer in Hanlon's razor. Okay.
Mhm.
But at some point, you know, it's not just incompetence anymore. Okay, for those of you that don't know Hanlon's razor, it's never a tribute to malice, but you can explain with incompetence.
I think you mean Occam's razor.
No, it's Hanlon's razor,
Oh, okay.
as far as I know.
I don't know.
Yeah, Hanlon's razor. But at some point, incompetence starts to becoming on purpose. It's like you either have to be like a world beater, incompetent person, or you're just doing this stuff on
I
purpose.
mean, hey, we live in a world where there's 5 or 6 Transformers movies.
Yeah.
But hey, what can I say? They always hit their box office mark. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Why do you think that is?
because they're like amusement parks. They're like big blow up. They're I guarantee you, if they were rated R, they wouldn't make as much money because they're for the kids.
Right.
I was that guy who loved those type of movies, blow them up, didn't care about story. Now I'm older. I'm like, I need some story.
Mm-hmm.
I need a good narrative. I need a choreography that I can see. There's certain things I need for me to like a film. I just can't like something. Whereas I feel like with those Transformers movies, like, yeah, that's what we need. It's kind of like when I saw Godzilla versus Kong in theaters. The story was very bad, but I didn't care because I didn't come there to see humans talk. I came there to see Godzilla and Kong fight. And boy, did they give you Godzilla and Kong fighting, man. Like, fight scene after fight scene after fight scene. I was like, yeah, boy.
This is everything.
This is what I wanted. I did not care that they were these 2 giant skyscraper monsters fighting on helicarrier. What are they called? Are they called helicarriers? No, I'm thinking of Marvel stuff. Those boats, yeah, those boats that carry planes.
What, the cargo ships?
Yeah, the car.
Yeah.
I didn't care that physically.
I'm sure it's got an actual name, but that's what I'm gonna call it.
Physics-wise, that doesn't make sense. That a giant gorilla and giant lizard.
Because you're
can
not
just
there to
stand
see it
on
make
their-
sense.
Yeah, I don't care, man. Like, yo, they was going ham, man.
Yeah.
They was whooping each other's asses, but like, I think that's what Transformers is. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter that I've had classes on Transformers, like, just like, yo, this is not right. But why does it work? Like,
Well, and so that's what my question winds up becoming. Like, we could talk. We're 2 guys talking, right? And we can talk about how some of these things just suck, and they do, because opinions don't actually matter here. They suck. But a lot of these movies, they still turn out to be huge box office successes.
China.
Almost always. You think it's all come from China, or a big
Most
majority?
of it does.
Really?
They love huge robot fights. Huge monster fights.
So how do those? So in contrast,
And
how
it's
do
not
those
just me
movies
saying
do
that,
here?
It's the numbers.
How do those movies do here? Like, if you separate China box office numbers and U.S. Box office numbers, how are we doing here? Like, how do the American people look at it, and what do they think?
2 movies I'll tell you. Warcraft. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah,
Bombed in the States.
Yeah,
Did great overseas, especially in China.
yeah.
Great.
I'm
Pacific Rim.
yes,
Remember that?
yes.
Did not do so well here. Over there, amazing.
By the way, I love Warcraft. That movie was awful, but I've been playing Warcraft for a long time.
The movie would have
Not
been
World of
great.
Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3.
The movie would have been great if the humans were cut out the movie, you know. But yeah, I just
Playing
think
Warcraft?
the movie.
I mean, humans are
Think
in
about it.
Warcraft.
Yeah, I know, but think about it. The movie, I mean, the human storyline was so underplayed,
Maybe
so underwritten.
Maybe if they changed how they did it. The problem is I've never played Warcraft 1, so I don't know like how the actual introduction happens with humans and orcs.
Well, I never played the games, but if you watch that movie, the human storyline is so bad.
I mean, look, it's a movie, so I'm sure they screwed it
But
up.
the orc storyline, yes, give me more of that. Just cut out all the human crap. I don't care.
Just get them out of there.
It was just bad. And then I think it was a visual thing too. There's some things you can't get away with here in America visually when it's live action. You can't do it. So
Dragon Ball Evolution, I'm looking at you.
nah, that's a whole different story. What I'm talking about is like the visually it looked too much like the game. You know, I had a conversation with Mike about there's some things you can and can't do in live action when you adapt something.
Yeah.
And I think the magic and stuff like that looked too much like the game, so it looked too cartoony for some people. Whereas like when they adapted like Lord of the Rings, the everything looked grounded. Like Peter Jackson talked about how he wanted it to look like not a documentary, but like a period piece. And even the magic in the Lord of the Rings movies, it looks like very grounded. It looks, and sometimes they don't even show visual stuff of the magic. They just have like whisper, auditory things, auditory cues and stuff. So I think it was just too much like the game for some people. For me, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I didn't mind it at all. But see, I don't necessarily dislike movies based off of games that kind of look like the games, because I think maybe. Actually, I don't know if I can have a.
I think that's because you're an anime guy.
Probably. It's because maybe because I do love anime, and that's kind of like where my.
Because when you get into live action, then some people start to be, no matter what, it could be a movie about space aliens, but some people are like, if it's live action, they're like, oh, that's not realistic. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, I remember this chick one time, I think I said in a podcast
I will never say it's unrealistic if it's based off of an anime. It's like, no, nothing in anime.
Bro, like, I remember, like, this one chick when the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the first reboot movie came out, it was like 2009 or something like that. And she was like, that's not realistic. Apes couldn't take over a bridge. I was like, yo, you're watching a movie called The Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Get out. Like, just go.
You know,
like,
and you gotta, like, when you're watching stuff, you have to kind of suspend your understanding of what's realistic to what the world is.
It's called movie BS.
Right. Or even like a show, like before the podcast, we were talking about we were talking about the Aang and the Yusuke character development stuff. And I thought that, you know, even within the confines of Avatar's own world, which is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
You know, my one personal knock on it is I thought that Aang's development was unrealistic for even a 10-year-old raised by monks in his world. Within a year, just the kind of development he had, I thought was unrealistic. And but it wasn't bad. I mean, they did it really well, and I loved it. And I love Aang as a character. I just think that, you know, his character growth was unrealistic, whereas we were talking about Yusuke, and his kind of just made sense. It was very realistic in its time frame. You know, he was consistently Yusuke with little bits of growth down the whole storyline. And both are amazing. They're both my top favorite. Obviously, Yu Hakusho is my favorite.
Right.
And Avatar's right up there, top 3, top 5 shows. It's amazing. But like, so there are times where maybe I'll do that. But I mean, generally speaking, you kind of want to keep your idea of like what's realistic within the world itself, because you can't go, well, in America that wouldn't happen in One Piece.
This movie BS, man.
Or show BS. Like, it's just stay within the world.
Honestly, you can't watch a movie without feeding into movie BS. Like, think about it. Everybody talks about The Dark Knight, how it's such a great movie. That movie does not work without movie BS.
Right.
Because if you want to dissect it, you can. You could be like, yo, this doesn't make sense. How did the Joker know this was going to happen? How did the Joker know this was going to happen?
Who's feeding him information? We never got that.
Yeah. Like, how did the Joker know that when he set off that bomb in the prison, he wouldn't have got blown up? Like, come on. We have to realize movie BS has to accompany all these movies, basically.
Right.
You can't have a movie without movie BS. But, like, when people do that, they're like, yo, it's not realistic. But it is a real thing that happens with, like, live action. You know, there's some things that can't happen. Like, if you have, like for example, anime costumes are awesome in the anime. But if you do them in real life, like live action, you gotta adapt it in a way. You gotta change some things.
You know where we appreciate, like, very detailed replicas of the anime costumes? In cosplay.
Yes.
When it's not a movie. When we're not looking forward to
when you're not trying to fight everybody.
Yes. When we're not looking forward to a great event of our favorite thing. When we get to say, wow, that's badass. That's a great costume. That's a great cosplay you got. That's what we like, that stuff.
Yeah, because we know they're cosplaying. They're not going to go out on the field and fight somebody with a corset on and high heels. Why are women superheroes still wearing high heels? Why?
Because they want to be cute.
It doesn't make sense. No, I guarantee you, if you ask these women, they'd rather wear flats, man.
The movie BS. See, you got to go with it.
Movie BS,
There you go.
man. Why is Wonder Woman in high heels?
Yeah.
And I know people are going to be like, oh, she has super speed and she can fly. Shut up. Then why is she wearing high heels, bro?
She wants to show how good she is. She can get in high heels.
She's like, look at my calves during this fight scene.
Aren't they nice?
Oh, my gosh.
But yeah, so, and as far as live action goes, I've really become a person that's like, if you're going to make a movie based off of an animation, it's probably even more specifically out of anime, because it happens with comics all the time and it works.
Shit, all the time.
But in anime, I've just become, don't make live action of it. Just don't even do it. Just don't even do it. You're not going to do it right. Yeah, and I'll give you your butt. But the problem is, the world is so...
Anime is too stylized.
Well, one, it's very stylized. But two, it's absurdist.
But that's what I love about it. It's absurdist, it's stylized.
Right, and that doesn't translate well into
Yeah.
live action. I appreciate Warcraft because they didn't go the live action route.
Yeah, they did. They did like a true to form.
I would appreciate.
Adaptation.
Yeah, and I mean the CGI we have is amazing now. You have a little bit of money, you can make something great for these studios. I mean it's expensive
if you have
but-
time.
Yeah, you have
If
to
you
have
give
time.
them the time that they need.
Right, and if you can create anime movies in that Warcraft style. Now some people aren't going to like it. That's fine, but it's better than better than getting Avatar: The Last Airbender as a live action movie again.
Let me say that. Yeah, bro. Let me say this. Rurouni Kenshin's, those live action movies are fire.
Rurouni Kenshin.
But you can do that though, because Rurouni Kenshin's not too.
It's not absurdist.
Wild. Yeah, it's
There's
not
a lot
absurdist.
going on. It's basically a samurai period piece, so you can do that.
That's true.
And
it's
now,
pretty tame.
I mean, the only crazy thing you got going on is some hairstyles, and they nailed them. They did them great. I mean, the Rurouni Kenshin live action movies were just.
Which is why I don't think One Piece would work as a live action.
I would never want to see
It's
One
too
Piece
absurd.
live action.
And Netflix is pushing so hard
No,
for it.
I don't want to see it.
It doesn't make sense.
One Piece is perfect the way it is. If you're gonna do a live action, first of all, don't even do a live action. If you're gonna do anything with it at this point, just wait till the series is over. My opinion.
It's never going to end though.
It is. I wish it never comes to an end. That's my hope.
So would you rather
I hope
see...
Oda lives forever and One Piece just keeps going.
So instead of anime adaptations, because it's a real thing now, it's starting to be the new it thing, anime adaptations. And Alita Battle Angel was actually very good too.
Yes, Alita. I actually really liked Alita, and
Yes.
I think it's because America is realizing that in the entertainment studios and the entertainment industry, anime has completely and utterly overtaken the culture and has turned comics into just the side character that nobody really cares about anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, people love comics. I don't want to say it like that. People love comics, and some comics are probably amazing.
But there's a problem of oversaturation in the comic industry.
Yeah.
You're beating your audience to death with these characters.
And it's not even just with the same characters, which that probably is a huge problem.
Yes.
But for whatever reason, and I'm sure we probably dissect this, there's probably a lot of reasons, but anime and manga has just come in and just swept the culture as far as people who enjoy that kind of entertainment. Like you meet far more people that do manga than they do comics.
Yeah.
And even the people that I know that do both, most of them are still manga leaning.
It's crazy because
Most of them.
Because there's times where the manga is just better than the anime.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy for like people like in the West to think of that.
Yeah. Yeah, the books are...
The comic is better than the movie.
Almost always the manga is better. Almost always.
Yeah. I enjoy the art of the manga way better than I do the anime. And I get it. You got, budgetary reasons, you got to cut some things. You got to draw it a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just,
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's just awesome, man. Just seeing somebody, how they draw the characters and everything like that.
And
so
even fight scenes, because like, have you read a lot of manga?
Yeah.
Fight scenes in manga are fun, like martial art fight scenes. They're pretty good. I don't know much about how they get it in comic books, but even martial arts in manga is really good. I mean, you have whole page of like explosions and stuff. So you just be like,
Yeah.
what is going on? But
Yeah.
but even it's done well in the manga. Like there's the first manga that I ever got into, like whole series, was Ranma 1/2 or Ranma, and it was a martial arts comedy. It was a romance comedy that was heavily martial arts. And the martial arts in it was awesome. It was so much fun to watch. It felt like I was watching. You know, just reading through it so fast, it kind of felt like a movie in my head, which is, I guess, what they're supposed to do. But just the martial arts was great. And I'm not going to say it doesn't happen in comics because I don't really read comics. So, would you say there is that in comic books?
Yeah, there's some good fighting in comics. Daredevil. You know, there's some great fighting in comics, but you know, it's just the Japanese style. I'll speak for myself, man. When I started getting into anime and manga, it was just a style, man. It's just they didn't care. You know, when I got into anime and manga, the American cartoons and comics, they all kind of had a similar look. Every character kind of similarly looked the same.
And they were still dominant at that time. I remember I was the nerd for, you know, in middle school and the first, like probably my freshman year of high school, because of how much I watched and read anime and manga. And I was still the nerd. And then I got the entire track team to play Pokemon.
My job was Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh yeah, well Yu-Gi-Oh was awesome too. See, I got into all of it. Yu-Gi-Oh.
And then it got too crazy.
Yeah, Kyle's really good at Yu-Gi-Oh still.
Yeah.
But like you can win in one turn in Yu-Gi-Oh. There's like, and you just play like a ton of cards. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's gotten crazy recently.
Yeah, I'd love to do a card game podcast too, because card games are awesome, and then they get too much. Every time. It happens every time. Pokemon right now, way too much. There's way too much Pokemon. Yeah. Stop with the 400, 300 HP Pokemon. It was great when we were limited at like 120, 150. Right. Just get more creative.
That's why like my favorite card games are the ones that are just one-off card games that I'll find on like Amazon or something like that, and I'll just buy them because those battle card games, they don't keep going and having crazy stuff, whatever.
Were you playing White Shorts with us?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were. Yes, and that really didn't gain. It didn't gain any traction, but that
might be a good
fun.
thing.
Yeah,
that might be a good thing.
Yeah, well, kind of, because it's like you want to see more anime come out with the cards and fill decks, but
yeah, true.
But like all card games do it. They go above and beyond to do new things, and they just
goes crazy.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you look at like Batman, the animated series, Superman, the animated series, all the characters kind of look the same the way they're drawn. Whereas when I went to anime and I first started watching, I was like, yo, it's so stylized. The costumes are crazy. The fight scenes are crazy. Like the way they talk and the facial expressions are so animated. It's absurd. It's awesome. And I mean, you can't really beat that, man, unless you join that. like you.
Well, you're not beating, you're just joining.
Yeah, I mean, like people are just like, it seems very tame over here compared to like manga and anime is taken so seriously over there. It's like a crazy industry over there, and then over here we still like, oh, cartoons.
It is a difference. Like you're supposed to outgrow the cartoons.
Yeah, I'm like outgrow.
Yeah.
Like and me and Mike talked about this on the podcast. Like outgrow. I can go into the philosophy section in Barnes and Nobles and see my stuff on here. The philosophy of Iron Man, the philosophy of Avatar, of Star Wars.
Right.
Like.
I don't see the philosophy of Grey's Anatomy anywhere.
Yo, thank you, son. Thank you, man. Like, come on, son. I bet you I will see, like, a cookbook of the Real Housewives or something. Like, here are my recipes. Yeah, you just Googled online.
Nobody cares, Trisha.
Yeah. You just Googled online, and then you added a little ginger on there. And now it's your recipe. Okay.
He said, okay, whatever. Karen, get your little powder.
Yeah, use your tuna casserole, Karen. No one cares. Yeah, man, like, supposed to outgrow it. Like, come on, man. All right, whatever. But, yo, like, anime it's just style. It's just, you can't beat it, man.
Yeah. And anime inspired me for martial arts. When I was in Kung Fu, what I would do every night, and I did this probably for a month. I don't think This was before Netflix, I think. It was a while ago. And Cartoon Network had Avatar running from like 11 to 12. Or
Cartoon Network had Avatar? That was Nickelodeon.
No, Nickelodeon, not Cartoon Network. Nickelodeon had a block. I think it was like 11 to 12, maybe 11 to 1 at night. And I spent from 11 o'clock until 12:30 every day except for Sundays, because that was my rest day. And I would spend that hour and a half with Avatar on doing my workout, push-ups, sit-ups, dips, tricep extensions, that stuff, and just going through all my martial art forms. And Avatar itself, like, you know how you get hyped when you watch something real good?
Yeah.
Just having it on the background just kept me hyped. Like,
Bro,
yes,
bro,
yes,
I
if I
watch-
was in this world, I got my forms down.
Bro, before I go to the gym, I watch Tony Jaa. I watch Donnie Yen. I watch Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee. Like I go on YouTube and watch fight scenes before I go to the gym to get me hyped.
Yes, it's something about getting your head in that space.
And 99% of those fight scenes are not Western fight scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, West. What's going on, man? What's going on? It's 2021.
If you had one or two martial art movies to recommend, what would you give?
To recommend?
Yeah, just two. One or two.
The Raid 2. I only have two.
Just two. I know we could list off like 50, but keep it to two. Like, if you're like, have somebody who says, okay, well, give me just a good martial art movie that you say, this is what fight scenes should look like, this is what martial arts should look like, this is what a martial arts story could look like. What two movies are you recommending?
Oh, The Raid 2. Dang, just two. The Raid 2 and Ong Bak 2.
Ooh, Ong Bak. That's good.
Now, they don't really have strong... Well, The Raid 2 has a good story. Ong Bak 2, you can skip all the story and just go straight to the fight scenes. But they're a perfect example of how you can do a fight scene.
I'm going... The martial arts is excellent, but this is really just a story and a great kung fu flick. 36 Chamber Shaolin. Some of my all-time favorites. And then probably more of for just really good action, really good fights. Drunken Master, the second one. I mean, the first one was really good too, but the remake was...
Yeah.
Great fighting in that movie. Every time I watch, I'm just like, oh my gosh, he's so good. They're so good.
Right.
The fighting is amazing. Watch it on
amazing, man.
repeat. I mean, or, you know, and I'll throw in one for both of us.
Don't say Mortal Kombat.
Nope. Fearless.
Come on, son. Fearless is the John.
Fearless is deep, brilliant story and amazing fighting. It is everything.
Let me ask you this.
Everything.
Because I know you've seen these two movies.
That's Jet Li's Fearless if you want to watch it.
Jet Li's Fearless or Jet Li's Hero?
Oh, man.
That's hard.
They're so different.
But they're both so good. They both have great action scenes and great story and great philosophy behind that story.
You know, and I want to say Hero is more of an epic. But,
Yeah.
I mean, in its own sense, Fearless is kind of an epic, too. Just not...
Because
but
Fearless goes through his whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not as broad as Hero is, but, man, Hero is so freaking good, too.
It's so good. There's literally classes on Hero in film school.
Everything about Hero is brilliant.
It's brilliant.
I don't know if there's any flaws.
Like,
I don't think
it's a masterpiece.
I don't think I could pick. If I had to pick, like, if I could only watch one of those for the rest of my life, I would probably pick Fearless.
Really?
I think I would.
I'd pick Hero.
Yeah. I think I would pick Fearless.
Hero.
I don't know why I'm more partial to...
I think it's just because, for me, as a filmmaker, I would go for Hero because of the cinematography, the costumes,
Yeah.
the coloring, the lighting, the acting, the fighting. It's just like the penultimate film.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, I think I would wind up going with Fearless because...
But as a film, Fearless is probably more entertaining.
It is more entertaining. It's
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah, it's faster. The the fight scenes are more vicious at some point,
Yes.
especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, before he gets enlightened, you know, he's like vicious,
He is.
vicious, and he's just going. You know.
He wrecked people.
Yeah, he
Just
literally killed people,
just-
man.
incredible.
Kill people with his bare hands, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think I would go Fierce. But man, what a ultimatum that would be.
Yeah, this makes me want to go up and watch both of them right now. Like,
Well, I think I got something I'm gonna do either tonight or on the plane tomorrow.
because they're so good movies, man.
Yeah.
That's such a hard decision, man.
But just again, like, look what they do so well in those movies, and I'm sure there's American movies that do the same. Like,
They're few though,
there's really there really are like.
because Hero and Fearless have great fight scenes, great acting, great scripts, great directing.
Everything about them
Everything.
is amazing.
Everything's amazing.
There's got to be something though, in American cinema, that's like that.
Yeah, Man of Tai Chi is pretty good.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about Man Tai Chi earlier.
Man of Tai Chi. I mean, it doesn't really have philosophical stuff, but the John Wick movies are good. You know, the story is pretty simple, but it's still like everybody's on their A game,
Yeah.
top notch. You know, the directing, the cinematography, the fighting, everybody's on their A game in there. American wise, that's a hard one. Like, is there an American hero with like good fight scenes and philosophy and
I mean Rocky. I mean, it is.
that might be our equivalent of Fearless. Like,
Yeah,
Rocky.
it might be. Just
Might be.
obviously, well, it's obviously older too, but not nearly
It
as
doesn't
well
matter.
done. But
yeah, it doesn't matter.
yeah, I mean Rocky.
That's what makes it better for me. 'Cause
Yeah.
Rocky was like an independent film.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
That would mix it. It wasn't until after it got all that money and so I was like, oh, okay. But it was an independent film, just like Star Wars. Star
Yeah.
Wars, the first one was an independent film.
Yeah.
Then he got all that money. It was just like, all right.
My barber, who's a really good friend of mine,
Mm.
he'd been with him forever. His like Rocky is his thing. Like he knows Rocky like the back of his hand. Got posters in the barber shop there. He's just a Rocky. He's just a fanatic. He knows everything Rocky. I just got my haircut yesterday. We were talking about Rocky, and he was talking about he thinks that we were talking about what do you think Rocky like really? Who do you think gave Rocky the biggest fight, the worst fight? Because Rocky gets whooped in every movie and then he comes back.
Yeah.
But who do you think like really rocked Rocky's world more than anybody?
Cancer. When he got cancer in Creed,
That don't count.
he wasn't about to fight too. He was about to give up.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, he was.
He was about to give up. And, you know. Well,
There is one person who made him quit though.
life.
No. Who put him in retirement?
Who put him in retirement?
Mr. T.
Oh.
Mr. T beat him so bad, he retired and admitted he was scared. Because a lot of people go Drago, because the big Russian beat the hell out of him. He just did. But
Yeah.
Mr. T not only beat him up, but made him scared to fight him. And he retired. He was good.
I'm gonna stick with cancer. Creed was pretty good. That might be another Fearless. I don't know. I can't think of an American movie that's like our Fearless besides Rocky.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one. Man of Tai Chi.
There's got to be one.
Nah, I don't think Man of Tai Chi. It's close, but it's not there.
And Rocky has, the one thing Rocky has that a lot of the other American fight films don't usually have is they're not epics, but they've got that tone almost.
Matrix.
Like they are deep.
Matrix.
Matrix. That's good. I didn't even think about the Matrix.
And the Matrix did something. They actually let them take the time and really craft fight scenes. And I'm just talking about the first one, not the other two. They actually let them craft, and they made their actors...
What happened with the other two? Because the Matrix is an absolute...
gem.
Oh, my gosh. And then 2 and 3 happened.
I just watched it again yesterday, The Matrix, because the new one's coming out, so I want to rewatch everything.
Matrix 4.
And,
at least you get to see the twins fight again.
But I was like, man, it's such a masterpiece, and they actually spent like 6 months training the actors, because that's one that's one thing, because we talked about this earlier. That's one drawback, is that in the East they have fighters that turn into actors, so they can do a lot of things fight wise. Whereas here in the West, it's like actors who are pretending to be fighters, and so they gotta do a lot of cuts and everything like that.
You have to learn on the job.
And I was telling you, I don't care if you gotta use a stunt double. Just give me a good fight scene. I don't need to see Will Smith doing all this stuff. I don't need him. I don't need these actors. What annoys me is when the actors are like, I did all my own stunts. Lie. I did all my own stunts, and I did most of the fight scenes. Like, some of them are lying, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but why does it matter? I don't care. That's not your job. I want to see these stunt performers do their job because they do it best. Like, I don't need to see you doing
Like, they literally get hired because that's what they do.
Yeah. Like, give me a good fight scene. Give me a good action scene. I don't need you to sit there and do all this training to give me a lackluster scene, and then you're like, oh yeah, I did that scene myself. Okay. Like, nah,
Just for
man.
us to be like, why?
Yeah. Meanwhile,
I didn't need you to do that.
your man's is over here, the stunt guy who could do this like that, and he's sitting there on the sidelines. He's still getting paid, but he ain't doing what he's doing, and we could have had something better with him. Like, come on, man. Let's do better, man. Hollywood, let's do better. Like, let's actually give. Let's not just the choreographers. Let's get good editors, because there's a difference too. There's some of these editors don't know how to edit fight scenes.
Doing editing with you,
Trash.
I've been noticing a lot of the edits when I watch movies now, and I'm just like, I know the film that they probably have, and I just think to myself sometimes, why did they chop it that way?
Yeah, even the way they shoot it is different than how they shoot it in the East. The East, they figured out, like they said, on set, and they understand that the camera is another participant in the storytelling of this fight. It's another, like, opponent per se in the fight. Whereas in the West, they're just like, oh, let's put all these cameras over here, let's get a master, and then you could do it a bunch of times. It's like, nah, man, let's plan out these shots, man. Come on.
Yeah, you kind of have to over here.
Yeah, it's got to, like, be like a choreographed ballet. Like, the camera has to be included in this choreography.
Right. Because you
Otherwise,
bring up a great point, because I know I said earlier, like, one of the great things when they go on set in Eastern films, if it is true that they just, get on the set and they decide how they're going to do the fight scene. But the reason we can't do it over here is because our actors really aren't fighters.
No.
They're actors,
Nah.
which is fine. But maybe we have the stuntmen come in and do that.
Yeah.
Just give them a couple weeks to figure something out, let them flow together, figure out how they fight. That's another thing. You can't make somebody fight a way they can't fight.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell, even when fighters are doing stuff that they usually don't do, it looks choppy.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're uncomfortable doing it. You can see it. And so when the actors are doing these things, I'm like, I can tell his body doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, like
not everybody is flowy and great for kung fu. Like,
yeah.
if you're a little bit more rigid, I mean, you can do rigid kung fu, but for the sake of the camera, it looks better when it's nice and flowy, and not everybody can do that. Don't be a boxer doing kung fu. Like,
and 8711, that studio is great. Chad Stileski and David Leitch, the guys who directed John Wick, they run that studio, and they if they get an actor who's never done that stuff before, they train them for months, put them through the ringer. Chad Stileski even talks about how when they do their fight choreography, they put them in the costume that they're going to wear that day. And they use the same camera guy who's going to be shooting that on that day. He's like, why would we do otherwise?
Right.
Like, you got to know how you're going to feel in that costume. The camera guy is going to have to build a relationship with everybody.
Right.
They use everything that they're going to use on that day.
Train with your equipment
when
on.
you're training. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes so much sense.
In football, you can catch a ball. You can be an amazing receiver. You catch everything. The moment you put that helmet on, everything changes.
Yeah, imagine
because now there's something in your way, and until you're used to a helmet, those bars are there.
Yeah.
And you see the bars. Now,
imagine training without that stuff on.
Yeah. And so after you get used to having a helmet on, then it's almost like the bars aren't even there because your eyes look through them because you're used to it. But until you've been wearing it and catching with it for a long time or for a while, it doesn't help. It makes it worse.
Exactly.
So it's like, don't wait till game day to put your helmet on to learn how to catch a ball, right? And if you're doing choreography, if you're doing fighting, do it in whatever you're fighting in.
Yep.
because then you become comfortable with it. Last thing anybody needs is for you to get really good at what you're doing and then put your armor on and be like, I don't know that.
Yeah,
Looking like RoboCop.
I'm looking at you, Batman, the Christopher Nolan Batmans, yeah. Where when the day on set when Christian Bale put on the bat suit, he got like claustrophobic, couldn't breathe. They had to leave him alone for like 15, 20 minutes so he can get accustomed to
crazy.
it. Like, matter of fact, even though those movies were trash, the G.I. Joe movies, Ray Park, when they finally finished the costume for Snake Eyes, he was like, can I please take this home so I can train with it? And he did. Because the first movie, I don't know if you remember, but it was just a rubber suit. Yeah. The whole thing. I was like, who thought that was a good design? But
was it
whatever.
The second movie that had The Rock in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
The second movie was actually good.
The first and the second, yeah. So the first movie I didn't like. The second movie I thought was good.
The second movie was good because it was pretty much a ninja movie.
Yeah, and I didn't watch
Snake Eyes looked so cool in that one. It was actually like, it looked like how they did Batman, where it was like separate plates of armor, so he could actually move. Yeah. The first one was just a big thing of rubber, and he was like, I have to go home and train with it, and he convinced him to let him do that. So you got to train with what you're going to use. Right. Or it's just not going to work. Right. Like, come on, man. Yeah. So basically, this in a nutshell, get it together, American studios, man.
Learn to fight.
Because your martial arts movies is trash, man.
It would change to learn to code, learn to fight.
Not all of them, but a lot of them are. But all right, my nomads, this was another one. I hope you learned something. I'm looking at you, American studios.
Back to Florida I go.
Be creative. Peace.
Peace. That was fun.